It's magnificent record. Yeah, it's magnificent records. Health is wealth.
How good is your health?
How good is your health? Health is wealth. Yeah, how good is your health? Health is wealth. Yeah.
Don't joke with your health. Your health is wealth. Don't joke with your health. Your health is wealth. Don't joke with your
An insight into infertility as a medical and social dilemma. Who is to blame? Join us this Saturday. Promises to be insightful. Don't miss out. Don't joke with your health. Your health is wealth. Yeah. Don't joke with your health. Your health is wealth. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to put on mine here. I'm going to remind him. I'm going to say happening now. Okay. I hope everybody's doing the same thing. Going to your group chats right now, inviting everyone to join our wonderful doctors who have taken their Saturday today to be with us. Go and invite that friend to come and join us. And I speakers here. Okay, I'm putting mine right now on AddictNet, and I'm gonna change the word happening today to happening now. Okay, and then we'll start in 1 second. Uh-oh, sorry, I misspelled the word now, and now. I spelled it Mao. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Amelia Bywaters. I am a math teacher by profession. I'm very happy to have you here today on BridgeAfrique and Ubuntu DNA weekly programs that we do. Today, we're really excited to have with us 6 experts, 6 doctors. I know in America it takes like 8 years to become a doctor. I don't know in China how long it takes, but it's like the toughest profession to study. So we are so honored to have 6 doctors with us today. I am a math teacher by profession, been in China for 7 years. So tonight, what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is introduce ourselves in 1 minute or less. We're going to go around introducing each other. And then after that, one by one, doctors, we will give you a chance for 5 minutes. Or if you need more, if you need 10 minutes, that's fine. You can explain to us things that you know, either from your experience or from your training or from your practice or what you learned in school about infertility. So let's do that first. Let's present ourselves. As I said before, my name is Amelia Bywaters. I was born in Congo. My native language is French, but I lived in America, so I'm an American citizen with the Congolese blood. So I'm happy to have you. Ken, let's go to you, my co-moderator, Ken. Mr. Ken?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Ken from Cameroon. I'm based in Jinan, Shandong province in China. Thanks, everyone, for attending tonight. Over to you.
All right. So again, please keep reminding your friends to join. Keep reminding them this is an amazing program tonight. Keep going on those group WeChat, inviting your personal friends to join us. Tonight we have among us male doctors, we have one female doctor. In America, we always say ladies first. So we are going to have a female doctor go first. Dr. Balinga in presenting yourself. Dr. Balinga, over to you. Tell us who you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Thank you, everyone who is here today. We're happy to have you. And yeah, I'm Dr. Lucette Pombo Balinga. Um, I am a holistic doctor with a training in both Western and Chinese medicine, as well as African medicine. So we've been in China for like 20 years researching on Chinese medicine and trying to see how we can blend Chinese, Western, and African medicine. So we think we have gone a long way and it's bearing some fruits. So we can gladly say that a combination of um, the different methods coming from all around the world is a very good way to go because each each type of uh, approach comes with some advantages. So it's something we'd like to tell the rest of the world. Would like to tell everyone who is present here today that if you want to get the best of what the world has today, is use the various systems. If you do that, you'll find that some of the limitations of one or the other would be reduced. So yes, so I'll just use this little time to say just that for now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Balinga, for introducing yourself. Let's now go to better half to introduce himself as well before we move on to our next doctors. And Mr. Ken, my co-moderator, if you would please present our next doctor after Mr. Balinga, Dr. Balinga, rather. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Dr. Balinga, the male, would you please introduce yourself?
Well, yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I'll try to be as brief as I can. My name is Anthony Balinga, and the doctor title is more of a practicality than anything else. It just helps you to know where to go if you have health problems you would like to resolve. I was born by Cameroonian parents, both half Cameroonian. Um, of European and African origin, and I studied partially in Africa and partially in Europe, and finally in China. So I graduated from several universities, one of them being Birmingham University in the UK, another being the Université de Franche-Comté, Besançon in France, another being Yaoundé University, and in China you have the Zhongyi Xueyuan. So I hold several degrees, but the one that matters most today is combined Western and traditional Chinese medicine. And my main interest has been researching traditional medicine for years and trying to bring what all of what I understood, all of what I discovered to our people and to the world at large. I am 53 years old and soon will be 54. I have 7 children, and some of them are grown-ups now. So basically, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
Hello.
Ken, you can go on and introduce one of our other doctor. Bring him to the platform. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Thanks once more, everyone. I would like to present to you a wonderful, very young, vibrant doctor. He's here in China with us. from Zambia. Dr. David, good evening.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Dr. David.
Hello. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Please, can you
Okay.
introduce yourself to us?
All right. Okay. This is Dr. David Lubasi Nalisa from Zambia, has already been introduced. I have been trained as a medical doctor here. I did my undergraduate here, went back to practice in our best hospital back home called the University Teaching Hospital of Zambia. And now I just graduated as a specialist in endocrine and metabolic diseases, also in rare disease. So I specialize in endocrine. Basically, you call them sugars and anything that deals with the sugars. Okay, the complications of the sugars, also part of the brain, the pituitary, the thyroid gland, the pancreas, and these hormone-related diseases. So this is me, and here I am. I'm so happy to be here, and I feel honored to be hosted by you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. I will give back the mic to Miss Bywaters. Miss Bywaters, over to you.
All right. Let's go to Steve Wonder. Now, Steve Wonder, here you are among these doctors, and forgive me if you are also a doctor. Steve Wonder, can you tell us about yourself, please? All right. Let's go to Mr. Dr. Lubasi. Dr. Lubasi, would you please introduce yourself to our audience? All right. Um, Mr. Ken, can you get our
Yes.
next doctor, please? Can you bring up our next doctor, please?
Okay. Our next doctor gonna be Dr. Root. We all know Dr. Root. He's in Nigeria. He's a very prominent herbalist, very powerful doctor. He has done wonders to many people. I've been following him, and we've been hearing the good things he's been doing. Uh, Dr. Root, good evening to you. He's also called Dr. David. So, but I prefer to go by Dr. Root. Good evening, Dr. Root. It's good day, Nigerian time. Good day, Dr. Root.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I think I thought I was going to come late before, but I think I made it in time. My name is Dr. David Agumbiade, also known as Dr. Ru. I am the CEO and the founder of Dr. Ru's Natural Medicine Limited. This is Nigeria, and it's a beautiful afternoon over here. And I believe we're going to be talking about an infertility today. So I think we're going to learn much about it. So also I have a diploma and here in university here in Nigeria in apology and phytotherapy. And also we do train people in natural medicine. Basically, we basically on natural medicine. So whatever any ailment you're trying to treat, if you are trying to look at the medical area, I think we're in the spot of it. So we can be able to put it into pieces for you over here today. So I'm so glad to meet all of you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Ken, go ahead.
now I was about to give you the mic.
Okay. Let's see. Who else have we not introduced yet?
We have still another doctor from Nigeria.
Okay. And go ahead. Go ahead, introduce him. I mean, bring him up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Dr. Alabi Olushola. This is the first time we are receiving him here. Hello, doctor.
All right.
Good
Hello,
evening.
everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
good
we
evening China time. Good day
yes.
Nigerian
Hello.
time. Hello, doctor. Hello.
Dr. Alabi, we will come back to you later. No problem. If you did not get a chance to introduce yourself this first time around, don't worry. When it's your turn to speak, you will get a chance to tell us who you are. Now, the topic of today, of course, is infertility. Before we have our doctor speak, I'm going to give you a so-called, what I call a testimony. I'm 61 years old. I never had children. And in Congo, I'm divorced now. I married a Congolese man, and his family put a lot of pressure on us. And because I could not have children, they put all the blame on me. In my homeland of Congo, I'm not sure about Nigeria or other African countries, but in Congo, if a woman cannot have children, 90% of the time, the blame goes on the woman. If a woman keeps having boys, for example, the blame goes on the woman, which is biologically, we all know that's totally wrong because it's the chromosome of the man that determines that sex anyway. So here I am at 61. Why am I divorced? Because of my infertility. Because my in law decided it was my fault that we did not have children. No medical exam whatsoever, but they just put the blame on the woman. So they decided, Amelia, bye bye. We are going to get a younger woman who's going to replace you to have. So infertility is close to my heart. Infertility is a topic that brings tears to my eyes, even up to today as I think of it. We are going to begin with Dr. Baling. Ladies first. She's the only lady in the house. Dr. Balinga, here you are with traditional Chinese traditional medicine. And we know that it's close to African traditional medicine. I think you will tell us. So, talk to us, Dr. Balinga, the correlation between this infertility and your traditional medicine, blah, blah, blah. Talk to us.
Okay. Thank you once again. It's nice to be here to share some of the works we've been doing over the years. When it comes to infertility in Chinese medicine, we're looking at blood, especially the nature of the blood in both the male and the female, the blood and the cooling essence. In Chinese medicine, we look at two major essences. That's the cooling essence and the active hot essence. The cooling essence we call the yin, and the hot essence we call the yang. For the most part, the cooling essence is responsible for fertility because it has to do with the female or the fertility energies. And the hot essence has to do with activating the cooling essence. So the cooling essence, which we call the yin, is the material. So if the female has enough of the material and the male has enough of the active hot essence, and the two come together, we can easily get um, a fetus formed. So it's very important for both the male and the female to have sufficient cooling essence, which is the yin, and the active essence, which is the yang in Chinese fertility concepts. And for the most part, the female should have more of the yin and the male should have more of the yang. For some cases, there's various reasons why there could be infertility. For the female, we look at the period, the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle should be regular. So if a female has regular cycles, then most of the time, this kind of female would be able to conceive. But if the female doesn't have regular cycle, that's where we start with the regulatory therapy. Another important point is the various hormonal cycles. We look at the follicular phase, which is the time when the egg has to mature. If there is enough of the yang in this period, the egg would mature and the egg would be released. So, in some cases, this could be the point, here could be the point where there is a problem because the eggs cannot mature. The female doesn't have enough of the yang, the active energy to activate the eggs to, to be released when the hormones are released. So when a female has a problem at this time, we look the hormonal cycle. We look at we could request a basal body temperature, which would indicate to us which how the hormonal system is functioning, and we expect that during the luteal phase there should be a peak on the basal body temperature chart. If we don't see this, we would introduce some uh, herbal medicines which have to bring about the maturity of the egg and the release of the eggs from the follicles. And so there could be a problem here if there is not enough of the active energy uh, produced or inherent in the lady. So for the most part, so far I've been talking more on the regularity or irregularity related to the female. Later on, I'll deal with what happens in the case of the male. So if the active energy is not enough with the female, we could introduce some herbal treatments which would help to enhance the activity such that the eggs should be released. And sometimes what could prevent this active energy to be insufficiency would be insufficiency of blood. So it's very important for everybody, the male like the female, to always be in sufficiency of blood. When there's not enough blood, there's not enough chi, as we call it. Chi is the term used to refer to energy. So when there's not enough energy, there's not enough blood. When there's not enough blood, there's not enough energy. We say blood gives birth to to chi, and chi would help the blood to flow. So in most cases, if the chi and the blood are sufficient and they're flowing well, there would be fertility. But if the chi and the blood are not sufficient, then the active energy that helps with maturity of the material form of the female, the material form of the female is the yin. It's just there, just like a solid. It doesn't move. It needs the active energy now to help it to move. If there's not sufficiency of this active energy, the egg would just be there and there would be no maturity and no release. So we would use herbals now to be able to get the egg to be released, to get the blood, first of all, to boost the blood so that the blood will be able to give birth to the chi as well as the chi would be able to get the blood to flow, and as well as the chi would be able to get the active energy to to uh, to get working. So when a
Wow.
patient comes, we look at all these various aspects. If this is insufficiency, if all of these are regulated, if all of these are functioning, then uh, we can see fertilization at the level of the luteal phase. But if we still don't see any fertilization at this point, then we could look at the um, the we call it the Chong and the Ren Mai. The Chong and the Ren Mai are the channels, the blueprint of the human being at the point when the parents bring them into existence. Actually, these are like the first uh, um, uh, meridians that are formed when a human being comes into existence, when the sperm and the egg comes into existence. So if the Chong and the Renmai, which brings about the structure, the formulation of the, the basic structure of the body, the Renmai flows from the Renmai flows from the the top to the bottom and connects with the Dumai, which flows from the bottom of the coccyx to the face, just above the lip. So this structure, once it's formed and it's regulated, every other parts of the meridian system would also uh, come into play. So the Chong and the Renmai brings about all the other meridians. So the basic structure of the body has 12 active meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians. The Chong and the Renmai are 2 of the extraordinary meridians. When they function well, they bring about the good production or good creation of all the other meridians. So the Ren and the Chong Mai are very important when it comes to fertility. When they are, for example, during menstruation, the Chong and the Ren Mai gets empty. So we expect that after menstruation, the 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 lady would should feed well to nourish blood, to nourish the cooling essence, so as to fill up the chong and the renmai again. But if this is not done well and the chong mai and the renmai remains empty, they are like the basic structure, the blueprint that brings about life. If they are empty, it's very possible that the, the, the female cannot bring in life. So when at the luteal phase, everything else is going fine, we check to find out if the chong and the renmai are in sufficiency. If they're not, we have to balance them. So we could balance them with simple herbals, or we could also introduce acupuncture. Acupuncture is one of the things which really does good work because it goes to treat beyond the cellular structure. It goes to treat even beyond the DNA. And this is where the chong and the renmai comes about. The chong and the renmai are formed even before the DNA comes about. So we have specific herbals which are herbs to treat the 8 extraordinary meridians. So when we see a case like this, which seem like everything is all right, we go to the chong and the renmai. Because for the most part, when the chong and the renmai are not functioning well, most of our medical machines cannot see it because most of the machines are looking at the structure. They're looking at the cells, the tissues, the structures. The machines cannot see the chong and the renmai. So when we have such difficult cases, they look simple, but they're difficult. You go to the hospital and they say everything is functioning well, the menstruation is regular, the follicular hormones are doing fine, the egg is released, the egg is mature, the, but then you come to the luteal phase. There is no conception. Why? So we would go now back to beyond the cells, beyond the DNA. That's where we treat at the level of the tron and the Renman. And we have specific herbs which treats the 8 extraordinary meridians. We also call them the miraculous meridian. And the herbs we also call the miraculous herbs. So we combine the miraculous herbs at this level, and for the most part, we would do well. So for not to take too much of your time, I would just like to say that in the case of a patient, we look at all the various phases: the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, and the conception phase. And we see that we make sure that each of these phases, everything is going well. If it's not going well, then we'll try to correct it. We correct it with herbals, with acupuncture, with diet. So for my case, I would put you on all these various protocols. I try to put you on the right diet, as well as I'll teach you some special acupressure points which you can do by yourself. And now we even have the electronic acupressure pen, which with my guide at home you can use. I'll show you the points, and you place them on those 8 extraordinary meridian points, which will bring the miracle that most hospitals cannot, in terms of bringing a child that usually some couples cannot get. I haven't spoken too much about the male, so I'll give him the time to talk about this, but so I don't take too much of the time. Thank
Well,
you.
Dr. Balunga, sorry, I kept pronouncing it wrong. Dr. Balunga, I'm sorry, I forgot. Where are you from again?
Cameron,
You're from, vous parlez français alors?
un peu.
Okay. But what we need from you is a follow-up to come back. We will talk to Mr. Michael um, and Ubuntu DNA on bring us like a visual for those herbs that women need, or the male, I guess, both men and women, right? Hello?
Right,
Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
right.
we need you to follow us up with a list of those. Maybe you can give us maybe like a PDF file if you don't mind. And you talked about those herbs. You talk about acupuncture, and you talked about
Point,
diet. What
diet,
kind of what kind of special diet should the women be in? I remember in my case when I went to Congo, we had some traditional women there that did some traditional plants they were giving me so that I could, conceive a baby. So we need those diet food, the list of them. What should the woman or the man be eating in order to increase the ability for them to conceive a baby? And we will go to Mr. Balunga, and then Mr. Ken, when Mr. Balunga finishes, you can take it over to our next doctor. Thank you so much.
okay.
Mm.
Well, thank you very much. She just about said everything, but mostly it touched upon women's issues because, like you said, the problem of fertility is not a singular problem. It's not a problem which belongs to one sex. And I can say, as a male, what I know now, that in the majority of cases where there is infertility, it is the man's fault. Um, we cannot see the host. We don't know if we're still online or if the host is online. Um, okay, yeah, that's good. So basically, what I discovered over all of these years is um, most of the time when you're talking about infertility, it is the man's fault, or the man is equally responsible. Now, the thing is, women do the gestation.
Dr. Dr.
Yeah.
Balunga, sorry for interrupting you. Can you please go to my Congolese people in the villages and tell them that sentence that and oh,
I think I might not return from there with both legs.
okay.
You know, us men have a lot of pride, self pride. Let's say our ego is very large. And as far as sexual things are concerned, there are certain psychological issues we have to touch on because it's important, especially in the African society. Men measure their manhood as per their organ. Well, it's global, but in Africa in particular, this is very important. And I'll speak very directly, very raw. I mean, we're all adults here. How big is it? How small is it? It matters to men in their psychology. It may not matter that much to women, but it does matter to men. And it can make you lose your self confidence or have self confidence. So men judge themselves. Am I a man? Am I not a man? On the basis of how big is it? And can I have children? Can I get a woman pregnant or not? So for a man to imagine that he is incapable of getting a woman pregnant is just about taking away his life. It's almost equivalent to that. So psychologically, most men do not even want to consider the idea that they might not be fertile. It is something most men do not want to consider. But it's not only this, there is also an educational problem because biologically it's easy to see a woman get pregnant or not get pregnant. But it's not easy to see a man getting infertile or not getting infertile. That part is not visible. So it's easy to draw a conclusion from the male perspective. I'm fine. Why? I can have an ejaculation. So I can have a baby. That's evidence, but it's not evidence. There may be no sperm at all in the semen, zero in some men, just nothing. If you take a scan, you might realize there are no sperm at all. And then there might be sperm, but they might be few. And then there might be a lot of sperm and they might be weak. They're moving very slowly. So there are a whole lot of issues that can happen with men as well, but these are not visible because all you're seeing is sperm. But the semen itself sometimes shows some visible signs, like it's dissolving too quickly, or it's not dissolving for an extremely long time, it just remains coagulated, or it's just not coming out, or it comes out after 10 seconds. These are real problems that men face. They don't like to talk about these things, but they are there. And maybe you find it difficult to have sex, like regularly. So it's like once a month you find you're able to, or once in 2 weeks you're able to. These are real problems that are showing that a man may be infertile or partially infertile. Aches and pains in the waist, in the lower back, especially, should tell you there is a problem there. Aches and pains in your knees should tell you there is a problem there. Aches and pains in your ankles should tell you there is a problem there. Weak legs when you're going downstairs or climbing stairs should tell you there is a problem there. Low libido, low desire should tell you there is a problem. You may not be completely infertile, but you are already partially infertile for a lot of men. So many men have these problems I just cited,
That that
and
sounds
they don't associate.
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that sounds all wonderful, but I really do not know one single man in the world who's going to admit it.
Well, yeah, I explained the problem. if I admit this, then am I still a man, or have I become a woman? In the African society, this is a very serious problem psychologically. So I may think about it myself. I may, after I tried everything, whisper to my best friend that something seems to be wrong. I will maybe never tell my wife about this, not talk to my father about this, maybe not talk to my mother, or maybe tell her a little about this. But most of the time, African men do not talk about these kinds of problems. They just go and try to ask someone, do you know about something I can drink to, this is the usual question. Yes. But that question may not solve all the problems. You may get something to drink and it doesn't solve all the problems. So there is a problem. If you can, as a man, you have these problems, go to the hospital, have your sperm checked, have your semen checked, and have your tubes checked, uh, just get your system checked, and you might discover something which might be useful to you, because a lot of these things can be fixed. But for many men who had mumps, who suffered from mumps, the disease which gets your lymph glands swollen under the neck, when you were young, you may grow up to become infertile and you don't know. Why? Because it's going to cause blockages in the tubes. So the sperm cannot travel down the tubes to be ejaculated. So you may have semen, but you don't have the sperm inside, or they might not be sufficient to get a woman pregnant. You might need artificial insemination to get her pregnant. There may be nothing wrong with her. And this is why, in many cases, after a lot of controversy, some women decide to have a conversation with a neighbor just to find out if something can happen. And because a lot of pressure has been put on them, too much pressure, and they have no other options. So they find some ways to find out by themselves traditionally if this problem can be solved or not. Then they realize they don't have a problem, but there's no way to tell the husband, you see, I don't have a problem. You may want to go and check yourself. He will ask you, how do you know? So, so there are many things that happen in our societies as a result because we are too closed in our African societies. It's good if you cannot have kids for both the man and the woman to get themselves treated, to go and have themselves checked. Like I said, most of the time, the male is responsible for infertility. Most of the time, it is not the female. So if there are African men here listening today, please take this seriously. A lot of women are thrown out of their marriages because we just didn't see her tummy get swollen. So she must have a problem. But this is not logical. It's not even scientific. There is no basis for it except a supposition. And so this has caused a lot of prejudice to many women. I listened to the story you talked about, and I feel sorry about that because it really happens in a lot of cases, too many cases, that women get blamed for something they have absolutely nothing to do with. And they might go ahead and get pregnant somewhere else. Then what do you say? You know. But then again, there are other issues. But before we get to those issues, let's just say that in Chinese traditional medicine, there are 11 basic syndrome categories that may be responsible for infertility. And I've listed them in the chat box, in the Zoom chat box for people who want to see, as well as the treatment protocols that, go along with each one of them. But you will realize they're talking there more about the kidney, the liver, and a little about the spleen. So the kidney function is not just the organ, it's a function. It includes the organ plus the reproductive function, urinary function, and so on. So if the kidney is deficient, it's the entire system, the adrenal system, the reproductive system, all of that, which is problematic. And the symptoms of those are listed there. So for any one of you who's male or female, go to those 11 modalities I have pasted up there and try to see if you have a number of any of those syndromes there. You can already know if you have a problem and if you need to be treated. And you can just approach us with those syndromes. Say, I found I am this. Can you help me verify, please? And then we can tell you what you need to do next. Because 95% of the time, or more, these problems can be avoided. And she does most of the herbal work and all that kind of stuff, but
Okay. It
99% of the cases we have had, one or two people. Yes.
no, you. I think you either you were breaking
And
up
in
or
some cases, oh, sorry. Yeah.
I
Can
think
you hear me
you're
now?
yeah. Maybe it's my internet. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. It could be us here as well. Yes. So I just want to make sure
But
you can hear me. And if you can, then I'll go on.
I can hear you. It could have been my internet. Okay. Go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah. So I'm saying that 99% or more of the cases that came to us over all of these years have conceived. And it's not an easy process. It's not cheap because you're going to have to consume a whole lot of herbs, sometimes for several months, a minimum of 3 months, 6 months, or even 9 months. And the Chinese herbs are not cheap, but they do produce the results. So there's dietotherapy, herbal therapy, acupuncture, cupping therapy. All of these therapies can help and they do work. So for most people, there is hope. There is a solution. But for like people who have had mumps for males and for some women, a small percentage might require minor surgery or artificial insemination. The rest can conceive once they fix these problems. But for men, you will notice that the infertility problems usually go along with, how can I say, sexual performance problems. Yes, they usually go along with sexual performance problems. You can see all the symptomatology listed there in those categories I have put in the chat box. You can see for yourself. Weak erections, no erection, short erections, premature ejaculation, loss of libido, all of these symptoms they are there. When you see them, please get yourself treated. You already have a problem, whether you like it or not, and it's not your fault. Just our bodies are like cars. When your tire punctures, you don't blame yourself. Something happened. There was a nail somewhere on the road and something happened. You don't blame yourself. For many of us, when we get infertile, it's because our parents were in poor health at the time that we were conceived. And this is the reason why we are infertile. But we can boost the adrenal system and correct this problem and become fertile again. We don't blame our parents, we just recognize the problem was there and we fix it. For some of us, the problem is because we abused of our sexuality, and this is us men in particular, because in Africa we think we are King Kong. We think the more women you go to bed with, the greater you are. Yeah, this is true. I'm a man. I know this. Um, we tend to think like this. Not until your waist starts to hurt, then you discover you've killed yourself. So, what happens is this: every time a man ejaculates, a lot of the fluid you see coming out comes out of your spine and your brain. Maybe a lot of men don't know this. Each time you ejaculate, most of the liquid you see coming out has been taken out of your spine and out of your brain. It's reduced, and your body has to fill this back in again. It's going to take about 2 weeks, and your body is going to use your blood cells to transform into sperm cells and all of that material to replace what's in your spine, in your brain, and to form new sperm cells. Women already have these eggs before they are born. They just ripen. For us, we have to make fresh ones, new ones all the time. And you put out a whole bunch of them each time. So when you do that, you're using up your cells and your bone marrow is going to get yellow. It starts going from white to yellowish. The more yellow it becomes, the less capable it is of building new sex cells or even red blood cells. If you do this too
Wow.
much, you will end up with AIDS. And I'm not joking. If you abuse of your sexuality, especially as a male, you may end up with AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, not because of a virus, but because your bone marrow has lost its capacity to produce red blood cells, white blood cells, and sperm cells. So you are in a state of immune deficiency, and you will show all the signs of AIDS. So in many people, AIDS was not caused by a virus, but by sexual abuse. But if the virus happens to be in your system when you go to the hospital, they will blame the virus. And yet, most people with the virus can live a very normal life if their bone marrow is functioning normally. They can live their entire lives with that virus with no problem at all. So it's not always the virus that causes AIDS, it is often abuse of the sexual system that will deplete you to the point that that happens. And you can see, for anyone who doubts this, the next time you catch a cold and you're feeling slightly sick, but you're not really sick, just go have sex and have one ejaculation and watch how the fever takes you over.